All right, you guys, I am excited. I'm elated to have a conversation with two amazing individuals who have brought something to all of us to benefit from. I'm talking about better sleep. I'm talking about better movement. I'm talking about looking better, potentially living longer, or at least having better quality. Something that you just don't get to learn about that often. Something that just, I mean, it's fascinating to me. And you guys know that I've been in this space of nutrition and health for years. I've spent quality time with the late, great Jack LaLanne. I have hung out with some of the best, most inspirational people like walking the planet today, from Dr. Andrew Wild, Dean Ornish, and the list goes on and on. And I haven't been this excited in a really long time. So, Steph and Eric, I am just thankful that you guys have made time to actually teach me about your product, what you've done, and how you got to this place where you're about to revolutionize, in my opinion, the supplement industry. So, thank you for being here.
Golly, Robert. We're so excited to be here.
Well, you know, there's so many ways to kind of get this conversation going. If you wouldn't mind, if both of you would do like a short intro and kind of just introduce yourself to those who are meeting you for the first time.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I'm Eric, and my background is Navy and Marine Corps physician for 27 years. And lots of deployments. And, although my background was orthopedic surgery and aerospace medicine, I took care of mostly the Special Forces community in the Navy and Marine Corps and optimized their health in the most austere environments. And so I'm a co-founder of Serafina Therapeutics and our product, Fatty15.
All right. Well, hoorah. So you have a special place with me as a former U.S. Marine. So thank you for your service.
And you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Stephanie.
Hi. So I'm Steph, and I am a veterinary epidemiologist. Everyone knows what an epidemiologist is nowadays. And I was working for the World Health Organization and helping to set up infectious disease surveillance systems all over the world. And then about 20 years ago, was invited by the U.S. Navy to help start and lead a clinical research program to continually improve the health and welfare of dolphins, which was completely unexpected. And that journey took us to where this conversation today, Robert, making really exciting discoveries, helping the Navy's dolphins, and then translating to who would have known that we would be here today of helping discover the first essential fatty acid in 90 years.
Okay, now that was something big you just said, but we're gonna come back to that. You have a product, and I just want to jump right in, and then we're gonna kind of reverse engineer things. It's called Fatty15. The name got my attention, but if you wouldn't mind, let's just tell people like right up front, like what is Fatty15, and just kind of like add to it wherever you want, and then we're gonna do a deeper dive and bring clarity to how it came to be.
Sure. So Fatty15 is a supplement, and it contains one ingredient. So it's super simple. It contains C15, also known as pentadecanoic acid. And we'll talk about details with regard to this, but it is an odd chain saturated fat and has lots of science behind it, which we'll dive into. And we brought it to the world because of all the science behind C15 and to be able to provide it in a pure, clean, science-driven way.
Okay. And when you say Fatty15 and you mention saturated fat, and again, you guys don't run because we're going to share with you why you want this, and you probably have it in you at this very moment because it is essential. So we'll talk about that. But what are some of the benefits, right? So let's just like tell people right up front. If you're taking Fatty15, what are some of the benefits that are associated with this product?
Absolutely. So C15, Fatty15 works at the cellular level, which explains its many broad and essential benefits. So to narrow it down into a quick sentence, C15 helps at the cellular level to support our immune, metabolic, heart, and liver health. So those are the strongest data supporting C15's direct effects and really then supporting our long-term health. There are also near-term benefits that our customers experience, and we'll talk about why. It's thanks to a metabolite of C15 in which about half of our customers experience better sleep, calmer mood, and less snacking between meals within as early as 2 weeks.
And Robert, we knew of the long-term benefits from the studies we did, and especially the work with studying longevity in dolphins. But we didn't actually know about these near-term benefits. And now that 60,000 people have taken this since we launched in 2021, which is absolutely amazing,
Wow.
we're seeing more and more people describing these near-term benefits, which I get to wake up to these every morning, are the testimonials on our website, which is really fulfilling and really cool.
Okay, so for you, Eric, if you wouldn't mind, what are like the top 5 things that people are saying they feel they're benefiting from as a result of taking Fatty 15?
Right. So near-term benefits, I feel better. I'm less anxious. I sleep better, deeper sleep. I'm snacking less between meals. This is not a weight loss, pill, but people do say I eat less and I do lose weight. And then we get a lot of my hair is thicker, my skin is shinier, things like that. And a lot of this is, understandable because it's a fatty acid. But it's also really interesting. We can dive into the science of why people are feeling these things. And so we've looked into that and we have some really good insights.
Okay. Now, the thing that's coming to mind for me personally is I see this amazing product. I see all the patents. I see all the work you guys have done, the clinicals that are in place. And the first thing I thought about was, why wouldn't they just cash out and take the pharmaceutical route and make it a drug like a lot of other people would have done? Maybe you did think about it. Maybe you didn't. Can you guys feel like, really? I mean, because, a lot of people sit back and go, is that good? They could have got paid billions of dollars up front. And why take the supplement route?
Of course. And to be perfectly transparent, we did move forward with this as a pharmaceutical first. And so you can see all that data on discoverc15.com. And so we were moving it forward for indications such as anemia, and then NAFLD, NASH liver diseases. But we were sitting at Salk with one of the leaders in the world in metabolic diseases, the person who discovered PPAR receptors, and having this discussion about this natural molecule. And we were moving forward the natural molecule and optimized analogs of this for pharmaceutical indications. And he said, the benefits of this are amazing. It's looking like it's essential, the first essential fatty acid in 90 years. You have the moral obligation to bring this out to the world as a natural product. So hence we developed a food ingredient called FA15, fatty acid 15. And, we published all our results in Nature and Public Library of Science. And then we thought, everyone's just going to read those things. And everyone's going to know about this ingredient, but no one reads Nature. Well, very few people read Nature. So then we determined, how would we get this out to the world? How would we make this ingredient famous so people know that it's needed in their diet? And so we came out with Fatty 15, as you mentioned before. Fatty because it's a fatty acid, 15 because it has 15 carbons in the backbone. And that was 2001. And Robert, it sold out in 6 weeks, despite being on COVID. We had to ramp up. We won Nutritional Outlook's Ingredient Producer of the Year by the end of the year. We were Fast Company World Changing Idea. I got to show you this. We were front page. This is about, not totally about us, but about the discovery of the New York Times. And then we were First for Women. They wrote an article that says a little known nutrient shortfall causing liver damage in 80% of us. So the story is getting out, but still, to your point, still very few people know about this new discovery, and hence thank you for helping to get this out.
Well, I know about it, so I'm gonna tell and I'm big. Like when I was with Jack LaLanne, he used to always say that whenever you're excited about something, don't keep it a secret. And I'm excited because I've heard what you just shared. I've read a lot of the material around it, and I'm real big on fatty liver. And I see that there's one of the potential benefits of helping people with fatty liver by taking Fatty 15. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's actually part of the founding story, or the origin story for Fatty 15. It's fatty liver disease, and that's because the Navy's dolphins get fatty liver disease. Dolphins get fatty liver disease, some but not all. And so we published this work about dolphins getting fatty liver disease, and we're contacted by Dr. Jeff Schwimmer at Rady Children's Hospital, this was 10 years ago, Robert. And so, and Jeff reached out, and he started the first fatty liver disease clinic for kids in the world. Like, he was on fatty liver disease before anyone else was recognizing it. And Jeff read our paper and he sent an email. He's like, hey, I saw your paper. It's probably not the disease you think it is. So he's like, send me some liver tissue samples that you might have in-house and let me take a look at them. And I'll never forget the email he sent back, which was the title, Robert, was "We Are a Go." And he's like, it's
Wow.
the exact same disease in the dolphins as he was seeing in his pediatric patients. So he's like, you're blowing our mind, because the hypothesis at that time was it's about there's too much sugar in our diets and that's driving excess fat deposition. He's like, dolphins don't eat sugar. So over the past 10 years, Jeff has been working independently, but in parallel with us, with the hypothesis that C15 nutritional deficiencies are actually the cause of NAFLD. So excitedly, he did some initial work studies, and which he published last year, and showed that kids, the higher C15 kids have in their blood, the less fat they have in the liver. At the same time, we did studies in relevant animal models showing that C15 supplementation effectively reduced fibrosis and inflammation in the liver with NASH. And then Jeff also just finished a clinical trial, randomized placebo-controlled clinical trial, excitedly, on a population of his that have a history of NAFLD. So stay tuned.
Robert, if this theory does pan out, which is looking good, that there is a deficiency syndrome associated with not having enough C15, this will be the first deficiency syndrome in centuries. A century, this is pirates with scurvy. this will be, certainly another big finding.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting over here. I want to jump up and down because I have been watching the increase of fatty liver for years. Right now, what we're estimating, about 1 in 10 kids have fatty liver. 1 in 4 adults have fatty liver. I see it with my clients. I have clients in 17 countries. Hepatitis C right now is one of the main reasons like driving that. And we're starting to see more and more people getting liver transplants because of that. But we're within weeks, if not a year or two, before non-alcoholic fatty liver is number one reason why people are getting liver transplants. Yeah. So fatty liver is real. And almost everyone who's watching us have this conversation, most of them have fatty liver. So like you said, if this product proves that it can actually help with that, which my gut is saying that it does, wow. I mean, Nobel Peace Award. Get ready.
What's great, Chuck. No, I'm just kidding. So, what's the way that you feel, Robert, is exactly the same as Jeff, because he's just like, if this is a nutritional deficiency syndrome, yikes. First, but second is we can fix it. Like, this is fixable. This can be at least part of the solution, because we took C15 away from our diets. Our primary source of C15 is whole fat dairy milk, and we took that out of the USDA. We took it out of the schools. We when kids turn 2 years old, every pediatrician is telling their parents, move them off of whole fat milk. We're all heading to plant-based milks. And so we know we have population-wide decreases in C15 levels. And so this is a problem that, if the science continues to show what it's shown to date, is fixable, which is really exciting.
Okay, so let's stay there for a second, because I know that people who consume whole milk compared to people who do reduced milk tend to be leaner, and there's some studies that support that, right? So that's substantiated. And the key molecule inside of C15 you can get when you drink whole milk, correct?
That's correct.
And the fact that this whole thing of demonizing fat and getting away from whole milk and everything is about reduced and low and stay away from may have put us in a position, because we were a whole milk country, in a big way. I mean, if you go back to 1900, I mean, everybody was drinking milk. I mean, I grew up, I think I was the last generation where we drank whole milk like regularly, like everybody did. And I'll never forget the day my mom came home, because she was always on some type of diet. She goes, and I remember pouring some milk, not looking at the carton. I was like, what is this?
It's blue and it's like water.
I was like, what is this? And now, like, my kids, they've never tasted whole milk.
Yeah.
They don't even know what it tastes like. But actually, that's not true because I've snuck it in some of their statements. Yeah, I have put it in there. But like, so you can get this molecule from certain foods,
Mm-hmm.
which mean, and you said it's essential. Let's bring clarity to what we mean by essential, because
Yeah.
that is a game changer. They get the omega-3, omega-6. Everybody's getting the fish oils. You got to have it because if you're deficient, you got to eat it somehow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's essential. You must consume it in order to get it.
Yeah.
And you're
Right.
saying that your secret molecule, well, not secret anymore, C15 is essential.
Yeah, that's
Can you
right.
talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we first made the discovery in dolphins, we basically showed that dolphins that had healthier metabolism had, because dolphins get, fatty liver disease, they get metabolic syndrome, just like we do. And we found that dolphins that had higher C15, less likely to have metabolic syndrome. So once we made that discovery, we then said, had this hypothesis that C15 may actually be an active, healthy saturated fat to help with metabolism. So we were sent to Dr. Ed Dennis, who was the editor-in-chief for the Journal of Lipid Research for 15 years. And at the time, he was still the editor. And they're like, I think we were getting, it was VCs. It was part of a diligence exercise. And they said, okay, take your hypothesis, go talk to Ed and go see what he says. And so Ed said, highly unlikely. We know C15's been around. It's not relevant. It's present in low levels. But the dolphin angle is really interesting. So here's what you would need to show in order to show that it's a beneficial fat. So we then spent the next 3 years doing 8 studies, basically going down Dr. Dennis's list. And every time, Robert, like every study landed. Like it was efficacious. The consistent dosing, the dosing we have in our blood, like everything
Safe.
clicked. And it clicked so well that Dr. said that we put all the papers together or all the studies together in one huge paper in Nature Scientific Reports in 2020. Ed Dennis is the senior author, and the conclusion of that paper was exactly what you're saying, which is not only is C15 an essential, and not only is it an active and beneficial saturated fat, it's meeting the criteria of being essential. So we need certain levels of it in our body. We now know that's about like 20 micromolars in our body to keep our metabolism and heart and livers healthy. If we go below that, multiple studies have shown that people with a low C15, higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver disease, and even certain types of cancer. And like you were saying, our bodies can't make enough of it. So that means that we have to have a routine amount through our diet in order to maintain those essential levels.
Now, when you share this with people for the first time, even our common friend David, does it surprise you that they don't jump up and down and just like, and maybe David, maybe he did, but you know what I mean? Like, I believe like one of your challenges potentially could be that the average person just can't get how big this is, because there's that learning curve, right? So I understand when you say essential, but a lot of people need to be informed of what that really means before it starts to take get some type of momentum in their head to see the value of this product.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And to your point, we as a society have demonized fat, and we've demonized saturated fat, especially. And it took understanding dolphin physiology to discover that not all saturated fats are bad. Some are actually essential. And so that message it's new. It goes against what we've thought for a while. And so it's once people understand and wrap their heads around that, then there's the jumping up and down. But it takes a lot of discussion of science and what we've done to date and what that shows.
And the difficulty, the fact that military family walks in with a history of dolphin veterinary work, and we walk into the room and say, hey, we found a saturated fat that's good for you. We knew that this is a big story and very bold, right? And so that's why we spent about 10 years doing the science, bringing in the biggest, highest qualified skeptics, and really working it through. So at the end of the day, we were to the point, like Eric said, where we were like, oh, we still need to do another study. And our own advisors were like, it's time. Get it out to the world. So yeah.
And it's coming from two, obviously you guys are critical thinkers. And I want people who are hearing our conversation to understand. When you go to a GNC or a vitamin shop, or you go to Amazon and you buy a supplement, there's someone somewhere that spent a little bit of money, no research. They didn't spend 3 years looking at one thing and 10 years putting this together and creating studies to get to the point where Fatty15 is available to you. There are people who made a phone call to a manufacturing facility and told them kind of what they want. They have a canned product, they put a label on it, and now you're taking it. No research, nothing but marketing on it. And you two have gone the extra mile. You have done that right there is commendable, over the top. So I know it's been a struggle. I'm happy you're still married.
Even stronger.
Yeah. It is a good point. All the studies we're talking about were done with Fatty15. That is the same ingredient. It's, we advertise it's 98.5% pure. It's 100% pure based on the COAs. And it's a powder with a stable shelf life that doesn't oxidize or go rancid. It is a really good ingredient. And that's why we want to get this out to the world, because this ingredient is stable and good enough with these benefits that you could put it in a food source and it could go to Africa or another third world country and be stable and provide them with a benefit that they're not getting today. So from the standpoint of being able to use the same ingredient for a pharmaceutical, supplement, and food ingredient, we developed something that we think could be used on all three of those, which is, to your point, very rare.
Well, I'm a skeptic when it comes to omega-3 fatty acids. I get asked all the time, should I be supplementing a fish oil? And I'm like, because most of the time when I've looked into it and looked at some data, even Consumer Reports, it's not always what it fished up to be. But boom. And so the other thing, when I was telling Dave, I go, wow. I said, if this is what I believe it may be, this is really revolutionary, because I could get behind something like this, because so many people would prefer to go with your product opposed to going and taking a risk with all of this tainted omega-3 products that are out there in the marketplace. So I guess my question would be, if I'm taking Fatty15, do I still need to take omega-3 fish oils?
Yeah, so a couple responses to that. To your point, the dolphins taught us which part of fish were predictive of healthier, longer-lived dolphins. And all dolphins eat our fish. And so we have this amazing population where we could understand which components in fish. We actually did this study in dolphins, assuming it was going to be omega-3, that dolphins with higher omega-3 are healthier. In fact, it was the opposite, that, dolphins with higher omega-3 actually were more likely to have metabolic syndrome. Again, this is in dolphins, but what rose to the top was C15. And they're getting their C15 from fish. We don't get much C15 from fish because it's primarily in the skin and the heads of the fish, which, dolphins eat, and we tend not to. So that, I always go back to that, which is like, what did the dolphins tell us through these initial studies? And they told us that C15 is more important than omega-3s and omega-6s for long-term health. Right. The second then is like kind of what you're getting to, which was, Robert, supplements. So fish oils, that we have to be better than squeezing fish and putting oil into a capsule in which half of the bottles that are sitting on the shelf have gone rancid. They're just, we have to be better, which is why we could have taken butter, right, and put it in a capsule and called it a C15 supplement. But we're not going to do that, because it's like we knew what was going to deliver above and beyond what food provides. And so the omega-3 world, the most consistent health data comes from when you eat foods that have omega-3 in it, when you eat fish. The NIH has a summary page on omega-3 supplements, and they flat out say that the science does not support that C15, I'm sorry, big correction.
Omega-3, yeah.
That omega-3 fish oil supplements, specifically marine oil supplements, actually help with heart health and a lot of the claims that it's had. So,
and then from our messaging, Robert, we at the beginning, we would say it's an essential fatty acid. You need all your essential fatty acids. And so after we published the paper in Nature proposing that this was essential fatty acid, we actually had a third party take Fatty15 and compare it against omega-3s. And we compared it against the highest bar, pure pharmaceutical grade EPA. And what we found was Fatty15 had more clinically relevant benefits and was safer for your cells, meaning high PUFAs, high omega-3s would actually lyse cells at higher doses, whereas C15 was stable. Much more we could discuss there because it's really interesting. But since that time, and given what you and Steph were talking about the problems with oxidized fish oil, now we say, yes, you can take Fatty15 instead of fish oil.
Great.
Supplements. However, if a physician prescribes you Vascepa or pure EPA DHA for a condition like hypertriglyceridemia or something like that, then yes, you should take that. Don't go against your doctor.
Yeah, we're not in the position to tell people stop listening to your doctor. But if you're just taking fish oil pills because you think you should be taking fish oil pills, we're following the science. And
right. And see, so I have a message for the physicians because I work with a lot of them, and literally I have quite a few physicians that send clients to me on the regular. And lately, for the last couple of years, because I'm real big on doing fasting insulin testing and not just fasting glucose. And as a result of watching my patients go from being a type 2 diabetic to no longer diabetic, or having a hemoglobin A1C that's 16+% to now 5.3, and the doctors are like, wow, like, how are you doing this? I then started communicating with them, and I gave them a one sheet. And this may be a marketing ploy, but I would give a one sheet to my clients, and then they would share it with the physician. And now I would say I have over 100 physicians that never did fasting insulin. Now is part of their regular regimen. And I would see the exact same thing with Fatty15, is getting the physicians to see what you guys have brought to the table. And then they will be empowered to then share that with their, constituents or patients. And I see a whole movement there as well. So that would be one of my things, is I would just add it to my one sheet and just say, hey, you want to become familiar with this, maybe put a QR code on it so then they could just look at it and then become informed and then have access to your site and learn more. I
agree with all.
Yeah. So my marketing hat came on for a second.
I love it. You're in. Yeah, absolutely. And what's nice is that because we have so much science, Robert, it's when we talk to physicians, and we have their time, like when we get the time to speak with them, when they start looking at the science. So that's why we created the discoverc15.com site, because that's where all the science can go. And so, once they dive in and they see everything that you saw, right, kind of that same journey, then they become the biggest advocates and the biggest ambassadors to communicate. But you're absolutely right. Like the need, then how do we create the megaphone for the physicians, because we have the science to get them there.
Well, it's happening. Now, I do have a question. I was thinking about this last night, and I was going, if they discovered the molecules C15 in 1945?
Yeah.
And there was a lot going on in 1945. So they discovered it, but no one did anything. So would it be accurate to say that when you guys discovered this molecule, rediscovered it, you somehow got to this place where you said, there's something here. Can you go back to how you guys discovered something that was discovered, but nothing was done, to how you discovered it and decided to move it forward to where it is now?
Oh, that's great. I'm picturing a movie where it keeps going back and forth and all lands in the end, right? Exactly. So C15 was recognized as a molecule. So it was found in butter, I believe, was one of the first places that they found it. And so they discovered it in butter and characterized it and said, there's this thing, 15 carbons, C15 exists. After that, Robert, they basically just, it was such a simple molecule. It was a saturated fat. It's present at such low levels that it was assumed that, it's there, but it's not really biologically relevant. So it kind of sat there in that phase. It has been used for decades as a biomarker of how much dairy fat we eat. That's how important that source is for us. But it wasn't until the dolphins where we were able to make the jump from C15 being associated with better health. Because at the same time we were discovering this in dolphins, papers were coming out throughout the world showing people with higher C15 less likely to have metabolic syndrome, less likely to have fatty liver disease, just like we're seeing in dolphins. But all of those papers were saying it's association, and it's really about butter or milk. So we were the first to say, well, maybe it's not just a biomarker of better health. It's not just associated with better health. Maybe C15 is the cause. And so that then triggered, let's do the studies to show, is C15 the reason for the benefits and not just a biomarker?
Okay, so then did you come home and bring it up, or did Eric come home and say, hey, or like who brought it to whose attention first, and then you both collaborated over a cup of coffee and said, we need to do something here?
Yeah, it's so as more as we were talking to the world's leaders in these areas, because it's amazing. You can reach out to everyone and say, we have data in dolphins that are living 50% longer than those in the wild, and they will take your meeting, which is great. But as we started figuring out all these benefits, that this molecule had all these benefits and was essential, we looked into, well, how would we provide this? How can you get it? And there was not a source that was sustainable and vegan friendly and pure enough to continue the studies that we wanted to do. So it was a need that had to be met, and so we figured out a way to meet that, and hence the food ingredient, the pharmaceutical, and then Fatty15, the supplement.
Yeah,
nice. Okay,
I'm the nerd.
Yeah,
I'm the nerd. So
interesting.
The science, Robert, if it wasn't for Eric, the science would have just kept going forever. And so it's Eric who's like, gosh darn it, let's go build a business and bring it to the people.
Yeah, and Robert, the dolphins are actually getting Fatty15, as are the sea lions too. So we sometimes joke that no humans were injured in the making of this dolphin supplement. So,
well, I think a lot of people, at least my daughters, the fact that dolphins are involved somehow, they're already on board. People love dolphins. I mean, that's the way it is. One of the other things I was thinking about last night, because I'm really big into the gut microbiome. All of my work and everything that I recommend is based largely on how I approach gut health. Yeah. And so have you done any studies, or do you see yourself doing a study as it pertains to if this has a positive or negative effect on the gut microbiome?
Right. So wonderfully, because the science world is really starting to grab on to C15 and start working on it in their own labs, which is great. From anti-cancer activities to antimicrobial activities, it's really exciting. And so there is a team that did published work just this last year on C15 relevant to the gut microbiome, conveniently. So look at you, smarty. What they showed was that specific bacteria provided metabolic benefits, so decreased glucose levels in relevant models, including people. When they dove deeper to figure out, well, how did it do it? Then they said, oh, it's because of fiber. So if you eat fiber, that creates inulin, which then feeds the bacteria, which then provides the benefit. And then they dove even deeper and they said, well, how does that happen? And what they found was that the bacteria use the fiber to make inulin, and then they use that then to make it, guess what? C15. And in the end, it's that product that bacteria are making C15. And that was what this team attributed the glucose lowering benefit of, this basically a probiotic. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and just a lot of exciting work being done in that field.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, we think so too.
Yeah,
I just taught that one a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's amazing. Science is probably every other week there's a new paper coming out.
Wow. So you have patents and you have things in place to protect you, because I'm sure there's people that are looking or just learning about your product. They're saying, well, can I duplicate this? And if people come out with different brands and say, well, we have C15 also, like what separates, aside from all the work you've done, and of course you have a very pure product, but what's a quick way of explaining what makes your Fatty 15 like the legit one compared to what a lot of people will attempt to mimic?
Yeah, so there are a few things. So the first is, as far as with, as we've talked about, right, that Fatty 15 contains only pure free fatty acid C15 powder. That is it. There's no fillers, no additives. Like, that is it. And it is provided at an amount which is 100 to 200 milligrams, 1 to 2 capsules per day. That dose was determined based on extensive pharmacokinetic bioavailability studies that was done in humans with this exact molecule, to show that by taking this exact molecule at 100 to 200 milligrams per day will enable a person to achieve 20 micromolars in their blood, which study after study after study has shown that this is the optimal C15 concentration to get all those great benefits we've talked about, anti-inflammatory, mitochondrial repair, cell stabilizing. So in order for us, Fatty 15 delivers, we have over a 95% monthly retention rate, because people feel it. They feel better.
Wow.
Their doctors see improvements on their blood tests. And so they stick with us because it's working. It's tangible. When other products have sought to put C15 into their product, they're not using any of the science. So they're putting in it at potentially super low doses, which aren't going to get you anywhere. They're mixing it with oils, which means they're having to, C15 stabilizes your cells, oils destabilize your cells. So you're mixing, contradicting ingredients. It's mixed with pro-inflammatory saturated fats, C16, right? Not all saturated fats are created equal. And so it just becomes this mess of, and then trying to, make claims that it has all these wonderful C15 benefits from our studies. So a huge differentiator is just, you got to follow the science of C15, the right dose, the right period.
Yeah, the studies of the benefits that we just discussed are all from Fatty 15. It's a free fatty acid, 100% pure. And if you create something else, you should do the studies to make sure that works. But we don't have any evidence to support that a triglyceride or an oil would do something similar. So that's one thing. And then the other is, Steph really, discovered this while she was in the Navy. And so our patents are licensed exclusively from the United States Navy. So part of, the supplement revenue goes back to improving the lives and the dolphin health, which, if there's another product, of course, that kind of steals technology from the Navy and then doesn't provide them with the benefit to continue.
Man, you guys did everything right.
The last thing I'll mention, kind of relevant to the whole mixing of C15 with other things, is that's kind of how it is in food, right? And so there was a really interesting study done by Bishop and team that just came out this year, and they did a really fascinating study where they took mice, relevant model of metabolic syndrome and fatty liver disease specifically, and they had already used our studies, which we showed that C15 decreases fatty liver disease components of NASH, the advanced form of NAFLD. They then did C17, another odd chain fatty acid, and they showed that C17 was like neutral. It wasn't as powerful as C15. And then they did just whole fat dairy. And they said, well, maybe it's just whole fat dairy. And when they did that, it actually hurt the livers. So inflammation went up, fibrosis went up. So it was actually damaging. So, the studies on milk are mixed. Like you said, they're great ones showing that, people will weigh less, have healthier weights. There are benefits. There are just as many that say it's just not clear. And we think a big reason is because it's just a mix of how much C15 is it, how much C16 competitive inflammatory fats. It's just it's harder to control, which is a big reason why we move forward with Fatty 15.
It's a pure.
Yeah, it's like Nature Plus,
I love it. See, I love it from a scientific standpoint that you have done the due diligence. Because if we go back to the 50s and the 60s when they started to demonize saturated fat and told everybody to quit eating egg yolks and scared everyone thinking they're going to have a heart attack, they didn't have the data. There was no science to substantiate it. And you fast forward 2015, they finally, after 60 years, admitted that eating cholesterol doesn't cause our cholesterol serum to go up. But
Yeah.
yet there's people who will never actually find out that they've been lied to. And the new generation, hopefully they'll learn, but a lot of times those things linger.
Yeah.
I say that because you did a lot of what the government tends to not really do. And you have a product now where the efficacy is there. It makes total sense. And another thing that got my attention was the fact that it's contributing toward the health of my mitochondria.
Yeah.
And with my contacts and people I work with, I talk about mitochondria all the time. And it'd be great if you guys wouldn't mind to kind of speak to that, because I believe that the health of our mitochondria right now is playing a huge role in our longevity, our energy throughout the day, our quality of life, and is not really spoken to as much as I'm seeing the data that you guys have in place speaks to it.
Yeah. I mean, what's awesome is that when we talk about mitochondria, everyone's like, "Ooh, the powerhouses of our cells." From like third grade cell, draw the little picture of a cell. So most people understand, and you're absolutely right, Robert. Like the mitochondria, it's at the center of everything. It's at the center of, are we going to develop chronic diseases or not? How long do we live? How healthy are we going to be? And so if our cells batteries, right, the mitochondria, stop working, everything else downstream fails. So what we were able to show with C15 is that, we know as we age, as we get chronic conditions, our mitochondria don't work as well. They start shutting down. And C15 goes into the mitochondria and actually helps repair it so that it can generate energy again, ATP. And won't get super in depth about it, but there's a well understood mechanism where C15 helps basically provide a shortcut where we get to skip the part of the mitochondria that's typically broken because of chronic diseases, because of aging, and it bypasses it and enables basically that energy production in the factory to keep working.
Escape route.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so we were able to show that in our cell-based studies, and again, it's at that magic 20 micromolar concentration that it has the optimal benefits for mitochondria. There was a study by Adachi et al. Where they actually topically applied C15 with an oil as a hair regrowth product, and they did a clinical trial, and they actually, which worked, by the way, which was fascinating. But they showed that topically applied C15 helped hair grow back, because in the hair follicles, C15 specifically turned up this ATP, the energy production, by as much as 300%. So whoop, the hair was able to grow back. So it's been around waiting for us to help use it in more than just a topically applied hair growth, that it actually has the ability to benefit us body-wide.
I mean, it's so cool to meet someone you're contributing back to society. You know what I mean? What you have done and what you're doing with C15 is going to be here way after we're all gone. It's like when I go to Whole Foods or I go to the store and I'm seeing them pushing omega-3 and omega-6. Soon it's going to be omega-3. What was that? No, C15.
Yeah.
Like it would be like everything will have C15 on it. Now it's not the same. So I guess could people come to your company and maybe license your quality of C15? You know what I mean? Because there's going to be a lot of other people wanting to get into the business that maybe is a different product than what you're making available, but it wouldn't have the same efficacy unless it's with your ingredients and your patents.
For sure. Yes. Where we started was if people wanted to do research with pure C15, we still do. We provided that and still do. So we want to make sure that this ingredient is available for people who are doing the science to do it with, the pure, 100% pure ingredient. And then in the future, yes. I mean, where we want to go is putting C15 back in the world's food supply. So working with companies that can do that, that are much larger than us, is a strategy that we're pursuing.
Okay, well, can I get in line because because it just makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, our challenge from the beginning, right, was like, okay, we have 3 simple things. The first is credibility. So that we spent 10 years on like, do we believe it? Do you believe it? Do you believe it? Okay, we're ready. So credibility, and then getting there. And the second is awareness. So now we're in that phase where it's like increasing awareness so people can learn about it, do exactly, Robert, what thank you you're doing right now. And then the last is accessibility. So how do we get the world to have, like Eric was saying, access to C15? It's not often you get a chance to truly make the world a better place. And we've been, thanks to the Navy and the Dolphins, we've been gifted this incredible opportunity and burden at the same time. And so we're just really excited for these next phases as awareness grows to get the accessibility and do what we can.
Now you touched on something that I want to go back to because to me it adds to the credibility of you guys as a company and your product. And that is in the place of science, I'm big on questioning evidence, which I hear that and feel that from both of you. I definitely pick up that you're challenging the assumptions, your own assumptions, right? And that you're at this place where you're reevaluating any conclusions that you come to, right? Like the basics of science.
Yeah.
And even though it's out there and even though you're seeing the benefits, how do you keep each other and the team in your company at a place where you're constantly going through those tiers to make sure, like, could it be better? Should we do this? I mean, I hear it from Eric because he's like, hey, let's do another study. Right. And it's like, well, how many studies? But you got to keep, your investors or partners. We got to keep ourselves honest. Like, let's do another one. Here's another opportunity. You know what I mean? So is that always going to be part of the company?
Yeah, we start with the science, and so we have a few big science moments coming up, which are really exciting. And so the way we've done it thus far, and I think it seems to be working, is we come out with a paper like the Fatty15 versus omega-3 paper, and then we have a awareness campaign around that, and that model seems to have led to a lot of more awareness than just the paper alone, for sure, because no one's reading Nature and Public Library of Science. So these studies that are coming up are big enough that it keeps the company motivated, for sure. And the motivation is mostly around, we're doing good things for the world, and the science just continues to build and build. And so we have another paper hopefully coming out in Nature soon, and then the clinical trial results, which will, I believe, lead to a lot more awareness.
Yeah.
Well, and here's a compliment to both of you and to the company. When I Googled C15, I was getting Fatty15.
Yeah.
When I Googled Fatty15, I was getting C15. And so I love how you said Fatty15 versus omega-3.
Yeah.
So you've already positioned yourself to own the market with the brand, which I think is absolutely amazing. It's like you're first to move, and it's clear. So that being said, anyone who's like, as you guys are listening to us talk, C15 is the magic ingredient for why you want Fatty15. They're one and the same.
That's right.
So let's start preaching Fatty15. When you talk to your doctor, tell them that you're taking Fatty15. When you talk to your friends, oh yeah, get Fatty15. Everything is about Fatty15, and that does not mean that you're going to get like the freshman 15.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the total opposite.
Yeah.
We've gotten that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how the name came to be is just a really interesting story. But we had all these discussions of it makes sense, fatty acid and 15 carbons, but what is the world going to think about this? And just in summary, consumers and other companies, they love that name, which was actually pretty surprising to us. And so there's already a lot of brand equity because people aren't asking for C15. Like we had an infant formula manufacturer come to us and say, hey, there's very rarely any innovation in this world. You have something that's amazing that is in breast milk and is associated with better infant growth. And so can we use Fatty 15? We're like, you're going to put the name Fatty 15 on infant formula? Okay. And so anyway,
and I think
lots of brand equity in that name.
And we decided we wanted to evangelize the word fatty. It's like, come on, like it's used as an insult. My mom said, when she first saw the name, she's like, I want to cry when I see the name because it's reminding me when I was like, kids would make fun of me. And we're like, we're going to change that, Mom. Like, so that when people say fatty, it doesn't have to be an insult. It doesn't have to be bad. Like we can neutralize the word fatty. There are good fats, there are bad fats. This one's a good one. And so, we're going to take that away so it's no longer a bad word that can be used.
Well, when I first heard the name, I was like, huh. And I didn't really, I wasn't like, I didn't assume anything, but I just was like, huh. And then as I was reading and then watching you do like, some videos, some interviews, and next thing you know, I didn't even think about it again. And then as we're having this conversation, I love it. I love the fact that you're like, I'm gonna get right up in your face because people would benefit to become more informed when it comes to fats that we consume and saturated fats. This is an essential saturated fat that can help you. That's like, wow, like that. It's one of those things where why isn't every news station wanting to talk about it right now? Like to me as a guy, I go on some TV shows and talk about different things and you have this cool spin, and David, that's his world. He gets it. Is that shock value is like, yeah, there's a saturated fat that can actually help you with all of these different metabolic improvements, help you sleep. And I love like a lot of the videos that you have out there where a lot of younger people are talking about Fatty 15 and because they could benefit from Fatty 15, not for weight loss or anything most people would come up in their mind, but because I'm meeting so many young women under the age of 35 that have gut issues.
Yeah.
It is huge. I think that's like the next big epidemic is younger people with gut issues. And then as you know, in the world of oncology, more people today under the age of 50 are being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
So they're looking for answers and better health. And I believe Fatty 15 is one of the things that actually is going to contribute to the times we're living in. And I believe it will be quite beneficial for everyone who gives it a shot.
Well, thank you, Robert.
I do too.
Yeah, we do too. This is greatly appreciated. And obviously, like you read the science, this world, it means everything to hear you say.
Okay, so as we are about to come to a close, give us a snapshot of what it looks like when a person orders their product. And yeah, by the way, will it ever be in stores?
We don't, not in the near term.
Yeah.
Okay.
We take our customers through a journey. Yeah. So they come in, when they come in via, they come to the website, they order online. There's, the best pricing is with the subscription because it's essential. You need to keep taking it. It's super easy to cancel. But again, our retention's really high. And so they come in to our world. They get weekly newsletters. We get them through their journey. We have literally an award-winning customer service team that stands by. We talk with our doctors. It's a space that we're going to protect for as long as we can.
Yeah, and the product they get is, we're trying to do good for you, good for the earth too, in everything we do. And stick to that. And so they get a recyclable mailer, which the box is actually the mailer. So it's not a box in a box. And then it's got a glass bottle with a bamboo top that's reusable. And the pouches, which are recycled material with the capsules in them, are in the bottom. So they open the pouches, put it in the bottle, and then the refills, they do the same thing. They're using their bottle, they put the refills in the bottle. So it keeps it, very sustainable, and there's no plastic, and good for you and good for the earth too. And so Steph mentioned it's a journey. So once customers sign up, they get an email from us that says, hey, now would be an incredible time to see your doctor and maybe get some labs like a CBC, chemistry, lipid panel, cholesterol panel, or cholesterol LFTs and a cholesterol panel. And then we take them through a journey. This is what's happening to your body at this point. This is what you could be feeling. And then it's a very educational flow. And then at the end, there's a few surveys, how you're doing. And at the end, it says, hey, now would be a great time to go to your doctor and get those same labs and just see. And so
Nice.
2/3 of people at 2 weeks, and because we survey at these times, and 3/4 of people at 6 weeks have benefits, to near-term benefits. And then the lab results, a lot of people have benefits. We don't know the exact number yet because they're not providing their lab results to us, just the benefit. But it looks like a lot of people have benefits, as we talked about, to CBC, your hemoglobin, hematocrit, your lipid panel, your cholesterol, LDL, your LFTs, liver enzymes, and things like that, which is amazing. And the diseases such as metabolic syndrome and liver diseases, as we talked about.
Well, I did see some people on some videos do like when they open up the package, and what I saw was class act, and it reminded me of Bill Phillips. You guys remember him?
Yeah.
So when Bill Phillips, who I met once on a plane, believe it or not, was really cool. A 3-hour flight. I got to sit next to this guy when he was on top. When he first came out with his company, he literally didn't do it the way you guys are doing. You're doing it like to the whole another level. But he was so involved. He personally would sign letters to people and thank them for the support and wish them well. And I believe, and he believed, sharing with me, that was what made his company something that he sold and almost got $400 million cash for.
Yeah.
Is that personal touch, and then the authenticity that you both bring to the table. You can feel the transparency. That alone would make a person say, you know what, I'm gonna give this product a shot. So I feel it, and if I'm feeling it, I believe quite a few people will feel it, because I'm a skeptic. I don't endorse anything. I'm known for not wanting to endorse anything. I am going to buy my Fatty15. I don't take many supplements because I eat, the way I eat, but this one makes sense. Yeah, there's not many that make sense. This one does.
Well, thank you.
That's great. We're here for your journey.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll be reporting on it.
Yeah, the good or bad. Like, you could do this better. We'd love that feedback. Yeah.
Okay, so when a person gets their stash, if you will, basically you wake up in the morning and before you eat, like, how do you take it?
Yeah, we've had people take it all times of day. So what we hear based on the surveys is the best result for most people is taking a pill or two in the morning, because they're awake for the results, the near-term benefits after that. The nice thing about the 100% pure free fatty acid is there's nothing else in that capsule. You can open it up, you can put it in your coffee, you can put it in your tea, anything like that as well. So we have different people taking it with different types of hot liquids or sprinkling on their cereal or things like that. And so
nice.
There, and the benefit, some people take it towards the evening to feel more benefits around sleep. But generally, you can take it with or without food and any time of day. Most people take it in the morning.
Okay, and if I have a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, is it okay for kids to take?
Yeah, it is. So we before we brought this out, we worked on our generally recognized as safe GRAS status, and so we studied, to a population of 4 years old and older people for safety. And that includes women during pregnancy and while breastfeeding as well. And that molecule C15, Fatty15, was found to be safe for all of those demographics. In the future, we're probably going to be working on infant formula as well, which is a different regulatory path. But
nice.
Yes.
Nice. Well, hey, you know what? I talk to a lot of insurance companies on a regular basis. Of course, regular everyday people. And this is really cool. And again, congratulations on all the work you've put into it. And I hope this works out to just help so many people and you guys benefit, now, as well as make it a legacy opportunity for your family, So congrats.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
It's
much.
been an incredible journey. We're onto in the midst of a giant movement. And Robert, thank you for being part of it.
All right, you guys. So we talked about transparency. So do me a favor, you two. Touch hands so that everybody knows you're in the same room.
See, at no point was I like, God, you tell them.
That was just too cool.